Hello, this is Sarah V, and today I am going to be making a dress. I feel like I should have more fall dresses that aren't just jumpers, although jumpers are more fun to make because there's no sleeves to set in. Anyway, I'm going to be making McCall's 8432, and I am going to be making this one with the long sleeves. I think that will be good. I also think it would be nice to make the sash out of that orange taffeta that I used last year for my witch costume. I think it would go rather cute with the fabric I have, which is this little micro houndstooth. I think it's a cotton shirting fabric. I hope any of that was clear. But yeah, it's this micro houndstooth shirting fabric that I got at Fabric Mart when I was back in college. And there should be enough. The only thing I worry about is these are puffed sleeves, so we'll see if they don't just collapse because of how light this is. But yeah.
Starting off, I am just setting all my pattern pieces down and seeing how I can get them to fit before I commit to where I'm placing them. And once I commit, I am just pinning it down. I didn't have much waste from cutting this out, and I think I had like 2 yards left over. So I don't know, maybe I'll make a shirt for myself or for Dan. Either one. Unfortunately, when I opened this pattern, I found out that the skirt pieces weren't in there, along with the piece to make the button loops. So I had to kind of estimate how big to make the piece for the button loops along with the skirt panels. Which it could have been a lot worse, but I guess I'll know next time. And it turned out fine. For the skirt panels, I ended up cutting out 3 panels of fabric at 32 inches and then folded them in half, and then 3 inches from the selvage I marked in and then drew a line to the bottom and just cut it so it was angled like the pattern. Because I didn't have the pattern. So that was as close as I could get with the least amount of effort. And Scooter was quite happy to help cut stuff out. He hasn't been on my table a whole lot since we moved, so it was nice to have him around. First thing I'm doing is sewing the shoulder seams, and then sewing the shoulder seams for the facing, because I'm just going to pop that facing right on there before I sew up the underarm seams. And that just makes it so it's easier to get in. And now I am serging all of the edges on the facing, minus the part that gets sewn into the neck. And now I'm just sewing that facing on. And then after that, I'm grading the seams and clipping it so that it turns out nicely. And I also understitched it. And I didn't even stop when I got to the corners, which was, I've done that before and it's been fine. If it's a really tight corner, you can't even get in. And I don't bother, but if I'm able to, I risk it and do it just so I don't have to start and stop. Personal preference. And I also like to cut out the the corners just so whenever it turns out, there isn't a whole lot of bulk there to stop it from turning out nicely. One blessing is I actually messed with my serger tension and it was decent for this project. The last project, it was a little bad. The last couple projects, that is, were a little bad with my serger tension. And I just couldn't be bothered to fix it. And now I am sewing up the underarm seams because I figured, hey, I think I'm actually going to put them in not flat this time, my sleeves. And now I'm working on those arm openings so I can get my hands in, although I was able to get my hands in without unbuttoning it. And I did break a needle on a pin because I didn't baste it in. And now I am putting in my gathering stitches at the tops of my sleeves and sewing the sleeve seam. I can now put my sleeve in, and I love setting in gathered sleeves because puckers don't matter because it's all gathered in. And I did a second line of stitching at 1/8 of an inch away from the last line. And while I was sewing, Scooter climbed up on the back of my chair and I thought he was super cute. So there's a little bit of Scooter for you. He hasn't sat on the back of my chair since July. Back to the dress. I think I am sewing this bodice to the skirt, which I'm sorry I did not film any of the skirt. My phone needed charged. I film on my phone and I was tired and I just wanted to get it out of the way before I ate dinner. Now I'm doing the edge stitching to keep the seam allowance up. That is what I prefer. I know not everyone does that, but it's just my personal preference. And now I am sewing up the center back seam so I can put my zipper in. And I am doing a lapped zipper. And I haven't done a zipper in a while on here. I keep making stuff with buttons and buttonholes, so it's kind of nice not to sew on a bunch of buttons and do a bunch of buttonholes. This dress went together very quickly. I graded the pattern up on Monday and then I cut it out on Wednesday. And then today, which is Friday, I sewed it all. So I sewed it all up in one day and I didn't start until the afternoon. And I finished it around 9, I think. But I also went grocery shopping and ate dinner in that time. So it didn't take too long. If I would have started earlier in the day, it would have went much faster, but it happens. And I did not have the best thread matches for this fabric because I think I used up all that thread whenever I made my witch costume, so I used black thread. It's on the inside, it'll be okay.
Overall, I'm quite happy with how this turned out. It fits really good. My armpits don't feel sad. That's always a good thing. It's kind of late. It's like 9:35. Still haven't changed my clock. I'm a little ill. I have a cold. I wish to go to bed. I still have to edit this though. These things do happen. But I think it fits really nice, and I feel vaguely Victorian, but also like late Victorian into the Edwardian period. I feel vaguely like that, but also like the 80s as it is, because it is a Laura Ashley pattern from the 80s, but it's like prairie, Victorian, Edwardian revival clothes. So, Pshaw. And I think maybe it might be nice to make one of these in just some black cotton or something for this too. Because this is like a shinier fabric, so it looks less casual, I guess. I have never done buttons like this before, but it was all right. I could have put this down by hand, but I wanted to go fast. So I have it like zip zip. And so it's not as clean there as it could be, but the arms do look kind of big when my arms aren't bent. Just for like ease of movement, like if it wasn't that big, once my arms are bent, it would be bothersome. So I guess I'll keep my arms bent. But that's not that bad. I'm just nitpicky. The pockets are hard to find. I don't know if you saw that in the reveal, but once again, my pockets are hard for me to find, so I'm just like trying to stick my hands into the unknown. But yeah, I have pockets, which is a plus. They aren't side seam pockets because there is three panels. So yeah. But I am really happy with this, and I'm happy with the amount of puff I have, because I was a little worried because this is like a lightweight shirting fabric. But it's fine. This might be really cute with a dickie under it. Like one with like a little lacy collar. I'll probably never get around to making something like that, but I always want to. Anyway, that's all for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and if you'd like to see more fall sewing, please subscribe. If you'd like to see what I'm up to day to day, feel free to follow me on Instagram at Sarah V Sews Vintage. Thank you again for watching, and see you next time.